Welcome to Fight News Now Extra. I'm John Pollock. We're coming out of a packed weekend of mixed martial arts. John Randine and Robin Black will be stopping by as we run through UFC 184, where Ronda Rousey set out to top her last performance. Holly Holm made her much anticipated UFC debut, and it was a battle of welterweights, both in need of victories within the promotion. UFC Women's Bantamweight champion Ronda Rousey needed only 14 seconds to submit challenger Kat Zingano on Saturday night at the Staples Center in the main event of UFC 184. Zingano charged in hard with a knee and was reversed, and in the scramble, Rousey applied an armbar underneath with a different variation and got the tap from Zingano. This was even quicker than her last fight, where she stopped Alexis Davis in 16 seconds last July at UFC 175. 33-year-old Holly Holm made her UFC debut on Saturday. A veteran of 38 pro boxing bouts, Holm was playing it safe throughout the fight, using side kicks and range to keep Bennington at distance and not turning it into a slugfest. Pennington finally started to land late in the fight, and it was enough for one judge, but the other two scored it for Holm and gave the Jackson Winklejohn fighter the split decision victory. And it wasn't the kind of return Josh Koscheck was hoping for after more than a year between fights. Koscheck met Jake Ellenberger, and after a difficult opening round where Koscheck was backing up, acting frantic, and constantly glancing at the clock, he was then submitted in the second round as Ellenberger earned his first submission victory since March of 2006 and his first victory since March 2013. And we are going to look ahead to our next preview show. It is happening Saturday, March the 14th, 7 p.m. Eastern. 2 title fights from Dallas, Texas. Here with John Randine and Robin Black coming out of UFC 184 and a real packed weekend in mixed martial arts. We also had Bellator 134 on Friday night. We had Invicta FC on Friday. It was a busy weekend, but certainly everyone discussing Ronda Rousey, a dominant performance against Kat Zingano, only needing 14 seconds to do so. An incredible submission, might be our early candidate for submission of the year. But what was your takeaway, John, just watching that, and now you've had a few days to just process what we watched in 14 seconds?
To me, it wasn't just the 14 seconds. Going into this pay-per-view, a lot of people, like they often do, bitch that, oh, it's headlined by Ronda Rousey, and the co-main event of this girl who's making her debut. We have to spend X amount of dollars. There's no way we're going to be entertained. And what happened? There were a lot of great finishes. We got to see some great performances from a lot of fighters. And you just look ahead to UFC 185, people are like, oh, I can't wait. Anthony Pettis, Dos Anjos, so you have Alistair Overeem on that card, Johnny Hendricks on the card. There's no way this is going to fail. And a lot of times, it's those type of cards that people are like, oh, this stunk. This isn't what was supposed to happen, because I have a story in my brain. I'm supposed to see these things happen. And for this fight, UFC 184, I think because the expectations were so low, the fans got to really be entertained and kind of embrace the combat.
Yeah, and just see how brilliant Ronda Rousey is. Leading up to it, that very day, I had to take a cab here to come from something I went to with my wife, and the cab driver was looking at me in the mirror, and I wonder, is this my dumb hair, or like, what is he looking at? And then finally, out of nowhere, he turns around and goes, so has Kat Zingano got a chance or what? So, and I was like, oh, no, she doesn't. And then I went over to the Metro where we get our lunches and our salads and stuff. And this guy behind the counter is like, hey, has Kat Zingano got a chance or what? And I'm like, no, she doesn't, I don't think. But I took 2 things away from that. 1, a lot more people are watching Fight Network than they used to, I think, which is really cool. And 2, people really are curious if it's going to be a competitive fight. And I think it's great if you have that belief, but when somebody is this special, I don't think it's necessary. I think you can go and look and go, this is a once in a generation or once in 5 generations type of athlete, a Michael Jordan, Wayne Gretzky. I just have to see them do their thing.
Yeah, and I think that's what it comes down to. I mean, that's going to be the challenge, is presenting somebody opposite Ronda Rousey that is going to be able to do something that no one else has been. And that's what we're going to continue to do with every single challenger. It's like, well, maybe this is the one. Maybe this is the one. Maybe Cyborg is the elusive fight that can really bring that competitive challenge. But on the flip side, where we're getting these performances, 16 seconds against Alexis Davis,
people
14,
don't care.
I don't think they care at all. No one was saying to themselves, damn,
that
was
stunk.
It was so short. I don't think anyone goes into a fight saying, I hope this is 25 minutes. I think they just want to watch something, and if it's incredible, they walk away saying, I've watched something amazing. I'm watching a once-in-a-generation fighter in Ronda Rousey.
Yeah, I agree. But I think that, you know, for the hardcore fans, they want to see some real competition for Ronda Rousey. I think they want to see somebody that can push her into the 3rd and 4th and 5th round so that we can see we all know what she's made of. We know what she's capable of. I think that there's a next level for Ronda Rousey, and she just needs a dance partner that is qualified enough to put her there.
You know, I've been saying, we try not to pump up our own tires too much, even though we're way better than everybody else. But I've been saying for a while that she's Mike Tyson. And now that everybody else is saying it, I think that's really lazy. I think a few fights ago, she felt like Mike Tyson. Now, you know, Mike Tyson never beat the top guys in his division. As an attraction, she was like Mike Tyson. But now that she's this good, it's more like Floyd or Sugar Ray Robinson. People who in their era, you know, if Sugar Ray Robinson in the 60s was fighting like people fighting the 90s and everyone else was fighting like the 60s. She's like that. She's at a level far above. And in most of these cases, there is never anyone who can really compete with them because they're so far ahead until either they just take themselves so seriously, think they're so good that they forget what got them there. And Ronda's mom would kill her if she did that. Or they age. Like we might believe Floyd Mayweather will lose this year or next year or the year after because he's aged and slowed down. Ronda, for the next 5 or 7 years, just enjoy watching this woman do amazing things.
Oh, and the name Cyborg is going to constantly be thrown at them. I thought they made it pretty clear at the post-fight press conference. This title fight is hers. This woman wants this fight. She wants to be a huge pay-per-view headliner with Ronda Rousey. Make the weight. This argument about a catch weight to me makes no sense. Where you're going to get one. Oh, let's say Ronda says, sure, we're going to do a 140-pound catch weight bout. Let's say Cyborg wins that fight. What do you do with Cyborg after that? She's just beaten Ronda Rousey. She's not in a division you promote. She can't make 135. What have you done outside of put together one night and jeopardized what you're doing moving forward?
And leave more questions than answers.
But that same question can be asked when it comes to Demetrius Johnson and 135 pounds. Like, well, he has really cleared out his division. Like, they have, Horiguchi isn't even ranked in the top 10. That's who's challenging for the 125-pound championship. But let's just say Demetrius Johnson moves up to 135 pounds. Well, we all know that he can hang. He went the distance with Dominic Cruz. Yeah. So, but what happens if TJ Dillashaw takes it to this guy and stops him? What does that do for the 125-pound belt?
I know there are all those kinds of questions. I love Uriah going up to fight Frankie at his old class and his down class. They're similar-sized guys. It sort of makes sense, and I just love the fight.
Yeah.
But listen, and do we have to go out and get a nutritionist and bring them on 5 rounds on Monday? Do we have to go out and get a weight-cutting expert? Because we'll do that if we need to. But the fact is, this woman can make 135 pounds. Anybody can make any weight. You can make it. It just is X amount of times. I mean, when Dude did The Machinist and then he did Superman, there was 100 pounds different. We're talking about 10 pounds of difference. A great nutritionist, the proper cardiovascular program, you're 100% going to make the weight. If you want to.
If you want to. That's what it comes down to.
Either she doesn't know that or believe that or hasn't surrounded herself by the best people, or she's making a smokescreen. And I am a Cyborg fan saying that. I'm a Cyborg fan as a human being that I've met and was very kind and sweet, and as a fighter.
Now, what happens if her team and her coaches and her people are saying, you know what? We don't need to go to 135 pounds. We are a dominant force at 145 pounds. Just keep doing what we're doing. Let's take out Charmaine Tweet in 45
but that's
seconds.
Who you're fighting, John.
I know.
And there's no money for 145, especially
but same thing can be said with Ronda Rousey before she came into the UFC. You make yourself the star. You make people want to tune in, and she can do that by taking everybody out.
There's a world of difference between fighting the world champion at a UFC pay-per-view and headlining an Invicta card on the internet. Anyway, that is Robin Black, John Ramdeen. I'm John Pollock. More of Fight News Now Extra is coming up.